Now back to Inside Real Estate. Here's Mike the Realtor.
Hey folks, Inside Real Estate, Mike Kruizinga. We are back. Hey, thanks for tuning in, folks. Hey, guess what? It's time to talk some local politics here. And we're going to be excited to have right here live in studio Republican candidate for office going up against incumbent Michael Burgess in District 26. Republican candidate Micah Beebe is here live in studio. And Josh, do we have his mic queued up over there? Are we good to go over there? Yes, I think we are. Micah, welcome to the studio. How are we doing?
Hey, Mike, it's good to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Glad to have you, especially since you're a fellow realtor.
Yes, sir.
We appreciate you, being on the show, and of course, appreciate you getting out there and running for office. That is no small feat at all. And thanks for coming in all the way in from the north side of town, up there from Argyle all the way into downtown Dallas. I used to referee high school basketball for a very long time, and I know all those areas up around 380 very well. Refereed up in all those small towns, and Argyle's a great spot. Well, let's get on into it. First of all, let's talk a little bit about why you wanted to decide to run, number one, and then a little bit about your background.
Yeah. Well, I've thought for a long time that, there's a lot of things that are going wrong in our country, and I felt like I had the skills necessary to get in the race, make a positive impact for our country. There's a lot of things that I bring to the table with my background in psychology and real estate. I know how to work with people. I understand the issues. I've been a leader on many different things. I know how to get in there and make changes and get things done. I think that's something that we really need right now is we need somebody who's not going to mess around and who's going to go into Washington, stand on their values and principles, and get something done.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, and, being a realtor myself as well, I mean, we work with people of all types, all ages, all types of incomes,
absolutely.
and a lot of times, political candidates are generally can come from an affluent background, which there's nothing wrong with that, of course,
Sure.
But they don't seem to know how to communicate with the average Joe, and at the same time, they don't know the average Joe's plight.
That's absolutely right. I'm definitely one of those guys that did not come from a affluent background. I came from a very humble upbringing. My grandparents. My grandpa always said, man, we were poor. There's no doubt about it. We were very, very poor. Right. It made things better for my parents, but I mean, again, we were also very poor. My dad, he didn't even have a high school diploma. My mom, she did one semester in college. I'm the only one in my family to have completed college. And my dad was a cab driver. Mom stayed at home, took care of us. So we didn't have very much growing up. So, I'm living the American dream. Got a college education, got a good job, and just working hard. And so I understand where people are coming from.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that really resonates with people out there because we're so politically beaten, with the 24-hour news cycle nonstop. It seems like the elections never stop. And I'll be honest, there for a while, I got burnt out, after the last national go-round. And then the last one before that was tough as well. And we kind of get beat down with it. But I think what all of us sort of get tired of is kind of hearing the same old stuff. And that we feel like maybe they're kind of talking down to us and they're just saying what they need to say to get in. But with your story, it's different because it is truly, a ground up story.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And when I tell people, hey, this is what I'm going to do when I get to Washington, I mean that. I mean, I'm not talking circles around people, just to get votes. When I say something, I mean what I say, and I'm going to do what I say. And in the real estate industry, I have a good reputation with the folks that I work with, and they know that I'm a man of my word.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as realtors, we have, a very serious code of ethics that we operate by.
Yes, we do. Absolutely.
There's federal guidelines that we have to operate by, and of course our state guidelines, and of course our local guidelines, and then of course, our ethics have to be beyond reproach. And our code of ethics really ought to. We ought to get some of these politicians to go by our code of ethics. I'm telling you.
Yeah, we do. Well, and as a member of the National Association of Realtors, that's right. We have a very strict ethical guideline that we have to adhere by. And so it goes above and beyond anything else. And so it's a code of practice that we must follow. And it says that, you have to be honest with people. And some of these things are very common sense type of things. You're like, well, wouldn't you do that already being in business?
Yeah, you would think, right?
Yeah, but no, I mean, those are very well spelled out, and there's a strict code that we have to adhere by. But I mean, when I look at it, I mean, it's a system that I would adhere by anyway, because I think that's the way you should be treating people. I think you should treat everyone fairly and equally and with respect. You shouldn't lie or be devious in any way, So
yeah, exactly. I mean, if we could get some of the politicians to operate like we do, that would be pretty amazing. Folks, we're talking with Republican candidate for office, Micah Beebe, for District 26. We're going to take a short break, and then we're going to come on back, and then we're going to start getting into some issues and getting into your political stances here. Folks, Inside Real Estate, Mike Kruizinga will be back in a few. Hey, folks, Inside Real Estate, we are back live, and we never went away. By the way, we got Micah Beebe, Republican candidate for office, District 26, here live in studio. He's going up against Michael Burgess, and we talked a little bit about his background here in the last segment. And so now we want to kind of get into the issues, and we want to talk about, your stance and some of the key things that distinguishes you from the field. What do we want to start with?
Well, why don't we jump into tax reform? Tax reform is a really big issue. The problem that I have with the tax system right now is that it's just way too complicated. I mean, we pile this on to just average, everyday people, and they have to hire all these experts to try to figure it out. There's always new laws and regulations, and we really need a simplified system. I mean, anybody should be able to figure this out. And so my plan is to go with a flat tax rate system, which we've heard a lot of talk about lately. But, I mean, going to a flat tax would eliminate a lot of the loopholes that are out there. I mean, it would eliminate all of them, really. And so that way, everyone is on an equal playing field. We're not playing favorites. Everybody pays the same percentage, and everything is the same.
Right. Yeah, and you're right. We have heard a lot of this, before. And it is something that's starting to gain some traction. People get it. People understand it. Okay, it's a flat rate. That's just, it is what it is every year versus all the questions, et cetera, et cetera. I think where most people are more concerned is instead of the individual usually maybe making out a little bit better every year, and maybe they do with, some tax breaks, some deductions, et cetera, CPAs working to get creative for us on the individual level. But that really doesn't make that huge of an impact as far as flow into the Treasury. What really does is at the corporate level, because they are very much wanting to watch their tax dollars.
Yeah, we really need a reform on the corporate tax level, because right now, I mean, we have the highest corporate tax rate in the world, and we're losing companies to overseas because these other countries are more competitive than we are. And we need to show these companies that we are the most competitive place to do business. We're the best place to do business. And we need to bring them back here. And so there's some very simple things that we can do in order to bring those dollars back to our country and bring more jobs back to our country. And that's just to, again, another flat tax rate system, simplifying the tax code. And because you have all these deductions and rules, and there's companies. There was an article out just not too long ago. There's a lot of companies that were just waiting on edge for the government to make some final decisions, and we can't keep people in limbo like this every year. We've got to have some sanity. We've got to bring some common sense and just make it easy for folks. I mean, there's too much complication in our tax code all the way around, just across the board.
Yeah, absolutely. And our businesses need to be able to plan in advance. You know, I've been in small business and then being back in corporate,
Yep.
you know, I know we had to plan everything way, 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 way in advance. You know, our budgets were done way in advance, and you got to be able to plan.
Absolutely.
You know,
Well,
you can't just have questions out there.
yeah, well, and I mean, if all of our businesses have to do that, if you have to do that in your own household, why aren't we having our government do that?
Right.
So, I mean, if we all have to abide by those types of rules, our government should have to do the same thing.
Exactly. I absolutely agree. You know, and of course the other thing is in theory too, the flat tax rate should actually potentially raise money into the coffers, increase cash flow. Now, we already say, okay, the government misspends our dollars anyway. You know, if we're going to give them a net increase, what are they going to do with it? And so that kind of goes into your discussion about, you know, we need to be better monitoring the spending, bring the debt back in order, et cetera.
Yeah, we absolutely do, because I mean, everybody knows our debt is just it's out of control. I mean, the insanity of the spending that's going on right now. I mean, we need fiscal responsibility, and like I said, I mean, we went through this financial crisis, and people across America, what did they do? They buckled down, they saved money, they paid off debt, they made cuts, and our government, once again, should have to do the same thing. And so it's insanity what is going on right now and how much we're spending. We need to go to a zero-based budgeting system and say, okay, what do we have money for? What can we afford? Just like the average everyday person, just with your own household expenses, the government should have to abide by the same rules.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've got to budget our own selves, but our money just free flows into the government, and they just spend it willy-nilly. We need, like you say, a zero budgeting system, but also, you know, for example, you know, the latest, you know, we've been throwing at Pakistan $200 million. You know, hey, $200 million is quite a chunk of change there, you know, and that they're not the only country that just gets aid. And I get it, you know, we have to buy loyalty in a lot of different ways, you know, internationally, but at the same time, shouldn't we, the people, have some sort of say in that?
Yeah, we absolutely should. I mean, we shouldn't be borrowing money from China in order to give it away to somebody else. And so we've got to be more responsible with our finances. We've got to hold a higher standard to what we're doing, and we really have to rein in that excessive spending.
Absolutely. You know, and of course, I know you're for a very strong national defense, and part of that is being strong financially, because as anybody knows, if you are in a position of debt, you are in a position of weakness, and $18 trillion in debt is maybe a bit of a weakness, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really big weakness. And so, I mean, you've got to have your finances in order. I mean, look at other countries. They built up and you thought that they were very, very strong. And then you go inside and everything is hollowed out on the inside because their economy was in pieces.
Right.
And so if we have a strong economy, we'll have a strong national defense. I mean, it helps our country all the way around.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now let's talk about, I know that you're a big supporter of senior citizens, and so let's talk about, you know, your stance, and, you know, you want to stand with the seniors, support the seniors and their plight, you know, as we age in this time period, which is a very unique time period. You know, in other eras, you know, the things you may have stressed out about were different, but now it's different stresses as you age. And so let's talk about that and kind of what you're thinking there.
Yeah. I definitely stand with our senior citizens, and I understand, you know, you're on a fixed income, you have limited finances. Look, I was told a long time ago, and like everyone in my generation, that, you know, Social Security is not going to be around whenever we get old and retire. And I think for our seniors right now and those folks that are getting ready to retire, you know, we made a promise to those folks that we were going to take care of them. And so the first thing is we have to fulfill our promises, you know, and take care of those folks and make sure that they're taken care of. And we've got to stop taking money from our Social Security system and spending it in all these other places. And so my plan, in order to kind of resolve that issue, is for future generations, I think what we need to transition to is a personal retirement account. That way, because I mean, it's our money, folks. I mean, we should get to say where that money goes and what we get to do with that money. And so instead of putting more money in the hands of the government, because we know that in the past that the government has mismanaged those funds.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I wholeheartedly agree with that because, and I've always thought myself, why is the government managing my retirement? Now, obviously, it's only a little segment of the retirement, and of course, they're saying, well, we need to do it for your own good because you're not very good at managing your money, you peasant peons out there. But we're not idiots. We know how to manage our money. At the end of the day, let's call it what it is. They use our money to fund other programs. They use our money to make money. Instead, I'd rather keep my money, own my own money off of my money, i.e. the interest, i.e. what I invested in. Do I want to buy real estate with it, for example, that makes me money and makes me cash flow, instead of giving it to the government and not getting anything back out of it, and potentially maybe not getting it back at all.
Right, because people are not stupid. I mean, I think the people of this country are a lot smarter than our government is.
Right.
And I would much rather put that money in the hands of our people than in the hands of our government, because obviously all the government seems to do is misuse our finances. Clearly what we just talked about with our debt crisis, and it is a crisis. All the government knows how to do is just throw money out the window and blow our money. And so that we need to return that power back to the people, and so they have control over their future.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't get us wrong. I mean, it's a good program and it's a great idea, but it's better in the hands of the people individually making decisions on their own money. And honestly, the same thing with income tax. It's taken out for us because maybe it makes it easy for us every 2 weeks for those of us on a W-2. Mm-hmm. But you know what? That's money you earned, and you could have made money off of that money throughout the year, and then you pay it back later. Again, it's taking our money and using it to their benefit, and I don't think people like that at all. Well, let's get out of finances for a minute and maybe talk a little bit of security. Obviously, unfortunately, there's terrorism out there. We have to worry about that here at home. Not only the typical type of physical terrorism that's out there, but also terrorism through hacking, et cetera, financial, et cetera. So let's talk a little bit about that and your position there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the primary role of our government is to make sure that our people are safe and secure. And so, a big issue that we have right now and that a lot of people are talking about is our border. We've got to secure our border. I mean, we keep talking about it, and nothing ever seems to get done. You put me in Congress, and I will make sure it gets done. This is a big issue because we've got terrorists, we've got all kinds of people who want to do us harm, and we have a border right here in Texas, and we've got people that are just walking right across, and it's ridiculous, really, how easy it is to just come across the border. We've got to put up a wall. We've got to do something, and we need to give our border security agents the tools that they need in order to keep us safe.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it is absolutely a security issue, with the drug cartels that operate freely in that area. Obviously, the DEA has their hands full. And the DEA and CIA run various operations, throughout Mexico, Central and South America. And that's a whole nother story for a whole nother show, which is very complicated. But, we do need to secure the border because we're concerned about those threats that are coming across. And this is not something that we're talking about. Look, we're a land of immigrants. We all are. My heritage is, your heritage. Everybody here is a land of immigrants.
Absolutely.
That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about, folks, the security of, look, we have a huge border, security of Texas and the security of our nation as it relates to terrorism and to the threat from the drug cartels.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
What else? We got time for maybe 3 more minutes here. What last topic we want to cover here, Micah?
Well, we can talk about something that kind of differentiates me from the crowd. I think that, when folks vote for me in this upcoming election, they're going to get somebody who is going to give a voice to the people. I'm going to be someone who I'm going to stand for my principles and my values. And so I'm a strong Christian conservative, and have a lot of very conservative views. And, I'm not going to flip-flop on these issues, and I'm going to stand up for it. And, there's a lot of people who feel right now that Congress is not representing their issues with only a 13% approval rating.
Right.
Pretty sad.
They're not doing very good, are they?
No, they're not. And I think anybody with that kind of job approval rating probably would have been fired a long time ago.
I know. How is it that happens? You don't do your job. You don't show up. You do a horrible job when you're there, and you get to keep it. How does that work?
I'm really not sure. So, the voters have a big responsibility here to step up and say, you know what, we're not going to take this anymore. We're going to send somebody new. It's time to pass the torch on. Let somebody else take the fight to Washington. And so I'm the guy to do that. You send me to Washington, and I'm a guy who's going to fight for you. I'm a guy who's going to be very approachable and accessible as well. There's a lot of different groups that I really want to reach out to, and I think we need to do a better job at connecting Washington to just the average everyday person. And so I'm not one of those kind of people that is going to just stick really close to, oh, well, this guy gives me a lot of money, so I'm just going to hang out with him, and I don't think that's right.
Right.
So I think you need to be representative of all the people that you represent, whether they voted for you or not.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, we all know people in politics, their opinion is often purchased and paid for, and with you, that's not the case, right?
No, sir. It is not the case.
That's right. Well, folks, look, you've been listening to us talk to Micah Beebe for the U.S. House of Representatives, District 26. He's going up against the incumbent Michael Burgess. The website, bbforcongress.com. And, of course, he's going to be on all the social media outlets as well, so you can catch him there. But definitely go to the website for more information on him and everything he stands for, bbforcongress.com. I mean, this is a real guy here, folks, and, he came from the ground up. Nothing was given to him. He didn't get anything free in life, just regular Joe like the rest of us. And came up from the ground and made it all happen. And guess what? He wants to, spend his time helping us going to Congress. And anybody that wants to go up to Congress and try to help us, hey, I'm a big supporter of that. And, the mental capability you're going to have to deal with all that is tremendous. And I applaud that. So, folks, Beebe for Congress. We've been talking to Micah Beebe for U.S. House of Representatives, District 26. Hopefully next week, folks, we're going to have in candidate for Tarrant County Sheriff, Mr. Wayburn. So we're hoping to have him next week. Folks, it's been Inside Real Estate with Mike Kruizinga. See you next Sunday. We are out of here.